Yeah, so SOP, the SBA loves their numbers, so it's SOP 5010-8, not to be confused with the last one that was 5010-7, but 5010-8 basically goes back to what the guidelines were prior to the last administration. So every administration that comes in obviously wants to put their spin on, the small business lending programs. We got a little bit of ways from kind of what we would call in the banking space just solid, prudent lending practices. And one of the biggest changes was kind of waiving some fees for the program, which actually caused last year for the first time in a long time for the program to lose
Mm.
money. And so in the eyes of a, lender who wants these programs to be around forever to serve the needs of the community, we really needed to kind of get back and refocus the program to what it really does best and go back to those fees again. I definitely agreed with some of the fee waivers that were put into place during COVID. They saved a lot of businesses that wouldn't be around today had they not been in place, but they didn't need to be permanent. So we're just kind of going back to pre-COVID, SBA lending policies, which for me, having been in the SBA lending space for a little over 20 years, I mean, it's kind of getting back to the old school rules and regs that I've known for many, many years doing SBA lending.
So is it fair to say that this isn't a major overhaul, but more of a return to former standards, it sounds like?
It was just because, a lot of the changes that were put into place under the last administration was a huge overhaul of the program. So since I've been doing SBA lending, it only financed 100% ownership changes. It didn't do partial ownership changes. So partial ownership changes were something that got changed under the last rule change. Now they're kind of rolling back some of those, but there is a pathway to still be able to do them under this new reg. So that's nice that there's still a pathway forward. Now, it might not be a pathway that works for everyone, but there's definitely a pathway there should an owner not want to sell 100% of his business and be able to utilize the SBA program to do that. Just kind of quick highlight, some of the changes are, going back to the 10% equity requirements. I think that's important as well, because leveraging a transaction at 90% is already really leveraging a business at a lot higher than what most people would recommend. So being able to leverage it at more than that under the old guidelines was really kind of what was causing some of those losses in the SBA program. They were seeing lots of defaults. Collaterals required again on the small loans. That's not a huge change to kind of go back to. We are requiring hazard insurance again on loans of 50,000 or more. That's pretty standard in commercial banking across the board. So I don't know why that was, kind of rolled back under the last administration. Like I said, going back to the SBA fees. So prior, they were waiving all of the fees on all loans under $1 million. Well, the bulk of the loans done using the SBA program are under $1 million. So they were essentially waiving the fees on like
Mm.
60% of the loan volume they were doing. That's not a sustainable model. So we went back to implementing the fees. And then, part of the big push under this administration is supporting manufacturing jobs. So I think we're going to see some even more changes coming down the road that could be really positive, impacting manufacturing type businesses here in the US.